So we can go ahead and get started on our yoga practice. All right, so we'll take a comfortable seat, roll the shoulders up and away from the ears, keeping the chest lifted, just dropping the nose a little toward the floor, eyes closed or soft. Just checking in with the being today, checking in with the mind, the body, the breath. And starting to lengthen out the breathing to help you drop a little more into the body, a little more out of the thinking mind. Bring the awareness to your nostrils and just notice if there's one side that feels more open than the other side. And then bringing the awareness to the center of the lungs, around the chest region, and noticing if you're breathing more in the front of the body, the upper lungs, or are you able to breathe into the back side of the lungs as well and feel the rib cage expand along the back of the body. And then bringing the awareness into the lowest parts of the lungs, noticing how much of your breath is belly breathing versus how much is diaphragm breathing. Working to balance all of these parts, trying to balance the belly breathing with the diaphragm breathing, and breathing into the lower lungs, middle lungs, upper lungs evenly. Encouraging the breath to move through both nostrils evenly, just with intention and awareness. Take a couple more full breaths here. And on your next inhale, slowly open eyes and come back into space. All right, let's drop the right ear toward the right shoulder. You can slip your left hand down onto the floor. And then take the right hand up to the side of the head. So you're starting to get a little bit of weight here. So not pulling hard, just a little weight on the head, stretching out the neck. We'll keep the head where it is, but release the hand. I'm going to turn to look over the right shoulder. So see if you can rotate the nose over the shoulder. And then I'm going to slowly rotate, turning the nose up toward the ceiling, still keeping the ear down. So I'm just rotating around the axis here, starting to look up toward the ceiling, still dropping down on that right side. And then we'll rotate the nose back down to center, and then we can lift the head back to center. Okay, let's try the other side. So starting with dropping the left ear toward the left shoulder and that right hand down on the floor, dropping that shoulder down. You can pick up your left hand, place it to the side of the head, just place a little bit more weight. And then we'll release the hand, keeping the head down still, and then we'll turn the nose over the left shoulder. And then keeping the head down, we'll rotate the nose up toward the ceiling. And then I'll rotate back to center and with the head back to center. All right, well, let's take the hands onto the hips. I'm going to circle at the hips, trying to get a little bit of lower back, perhaps. Hips here. And we'll pause in that direction and rotate the other way. And we'll work our way back to center. Let's interlace the fingers and press the palms forward, elbows straight, and take the hands up and over the head. Trying to keep the neck soft, jaw soft, the shoulders starting to move down the back. Bring the hands back down, change the interlace of the fingers, and then once more, elbows straight, up and over the head. And then we'll bring the hands back down. Let's take the left hand back behind, just the left hand. Draw the shoulders together. And take your right hand, elbows straight, and take that hand up and over your head. Now notice if you want to turn. If you're starting to turn toward that left, come back to center, draw that right shoulder down so you can almost feel it set down on the back of the body. I'm going to tip the pelvic bone, so you're starting to come into a back bend. So tipping the pelvic bone forward, lift the chest here, and start to draw the right hand back behind. So you might look up if that feels right on the neck, starting to draw that right hand back, coming into this half version of a back bend. So pelvic bone is tilting, chest is lifting, an arch in the back. And then we'll come on and back up to center. We're going to switch sides. So the right hand will come back behind. Shoulders draws back and down. Left elbow straight. Starting with just taking the hand straight up. So notice as you do that, if you have that tendency to just want to turn, try to open towards center. Shoulders drawing down, elbows straight. Pelvic bone tilting and arching the back. And then from here, you can lift up toward the ceiling with the center of the chest, at the same time starting to take your left hand back behind your head. And then on inhale, we'll come on back up to center. Release that arm. Okay, let's come into hands and knees. And we'll start with the cat-cow. So coming into your hands and knees position, tailbone up, chest up, and then exhaling, arching the back, cat-cow. Really integrating the breath and staying present with what's going on in the spine, maybe in the hips, the back. Then the next time that you're in cat pose, that would be the last one. I'll come back to a neutral spine. I'm going to grab a hold of a couple of blocks. I have them about shoulder width apart on your mat and at the medium level setting. So coming up to whatever this horizontal position is. About shoulder width apart. What I try to do is bring your elbows onto the blocks. You bring your hands together. So hands together in a namaste, your elbows on the blocks. And then from here, you're going to try to drop your head and chest between the elbows down toward the floor. Let the head come all the way through. Your hips will come back toward your feet a bit. And then if you want, you can take your hands more onto your neck or the upper back. And then from here, we'll release and come on back up onto hands and knees. And I'm going to move your blocks forward so that they are near the top of your mat. And I'm going to take those hands up shoulder width apart on the floor and walk your hands just a little bit forward. And bring your hips in line for half plank pose. Coming into a half plank, shoulders are over the hands, knees are down. Breathing here, pushing actively into the floor, toning those abdominals. Keeping your elbows in close, we're just going to start to bend, maybe 2 inches or so, dropping down and then push back up. So you want to come down to a place that's really easy for you to control. So maybe it's not very far. We're just bending the elbows a little and then pushing back up. So it's like a little mini push up. Nice that's very comfortable for you, where you still feel that you're in control, toning those arms, turning around your elbows. Just a few more times here, just down and back up. And then the next time that you go down, we're going to come all the way down onto the floor, all the way down on the belly, tops the feet down, tailbone down. Let's take your elbows now underneath of your shoulders for Sphinx pose. So elbows on the floor, hands on the floor, hands for shoulder width apart. Shoulders drop back and down toward your hips, and then let's lift the chest, lift the head. You might look up toward the ceiling, opening along the neck, the throat, the front of the chest. Tailbone actively down, protecting the lower back. From here, we'll lower back down. I'm going to walk the hands back by the shoulders, elbows in close, push into your hands. and lift up to a seal pose. So we're going to try to straighten your elbows if you can. Tailbone down, shoulders down the back as much as they will go. Opening the front of the chest. And your feet might splay out. That's okay if they do. You might look up here if that feels okay. You might just look straight ahead. And then we'll lower back down to the floor. And grab a hold of your blocks. I'm going to bring them in about up by your shoulders. I'm going to bring them down to your lowest setting, shoulder width apart. And up by your shoulders, going to bring your hands onto those blocks. And you want to make sure it's in a place that's not going to slide. So the blocks are on a mat or something that's not going to slide. From here, you're going to keep your hands on the blocks, take your tailbone toward the floor and try to push into your hands. They may not go all the way up to straight arms. This is where you find the limit in the back of where you want to go. Those elbows might poke out a little to the side, that's okay. Strong arms here, lifting up into a version of upward dog. So knees are still down. Opening the chest, breathing. And then we'll lower back down to the floor. You can slide your blocks away. Hands by the shoulders. Let's push up into half plank pose. And then all the way back for our prayer pose. Hips to heels, reach to the arms, breathing here. And then on the inhale, we'll come on back up. All right, we're going to work on gate pose. So you're going to want to have your mat sideways so that you can take your feet out. You want a blanket to pad your knee. So you want a blanket, and then you also want just one block. So we're going to start with the padding on the right knee. And you're going to take your left foot out to the side. And your block will be next to your right knee. So we're going to come up in this position. So hopefully this is okay on everyone's knees. So you're on your right knee, your left leg is out to the side. You're going to turn that foot out as much as is comfortable and try to point the toes ballerina style. Now, if your toes don't come to the floor, that's okay. More important to keep the knee straight than getting those toes down. Your other foot, you might turn your toes under to help you with balance here. So if you think about triangle pose, Trikonasana, hips are in line with your feet. In this case, they're in line with your knee and your left foot. Good. Now from here, you're going to take that right hand, you're going to drop it down to your block. Now you may need your block to be a little higher, or you might bring your block a little lower. Totally up to you on the height here, but you're coming down at a side. And then you're going to take your left hand up and over your head, all the way over the head, pointing the hand down, the palm down toward the floor, elbows straight. Reach through your toes on that side and the fingers. Gate pose. From here, I'm going to try and turn and open the chest toward the ceiling. So lift and open the center of the chest. That left shoulder is going to drop down toward the floor. So start to turn here. You might look up toward the ceiling. Left hand is still way over the head. On an inhale, we'll release and come on back up to that starting position. Keep your legs where they are. We have to close the gate. So to close the gate, you slide your left hand down that leg, keep your right shoulder drawing back, and now that hand comes up and over the head. And on inhale, we'll come on back up. And now we can release that side and come to the other side. So nice fluffy padding under that left knee. Our block goes to the outside of that knee. The right leg extends now. Toes pointed toward the floor, hips in line with your foot and your knees. We're getting that open lateral position in the hips. Good. And then coming down in the line, we'll take the left hand down onto your block at any height here. Block is mostly under your shoulder. And then that right hand shoulder back all the way up and over the head, palm toward the floor. So you really get a stretch here by pushing the toes down into the floor and extending through the fingers. And then to open toward the ceiling, we'll rotate, drawing the chest toward the ceiling, still drawing that right shoulder back. And then release and come on back up to center. And then closing the gaze. You're going to slide the right hand down that extended leg, keeping your left shoulder back. We'll bring the hand all the way up and over. And on inhale, release that leg. All right, we'll do one more here on the knees. And so this one, we're going to turn our blanket and do want a block. I'm going to take both knees now onto your blanket. Both knees on your blanket will have the toes tucked behind. So you should feel if you were to rock backwards, your toes and feet will catch you. And also, we'll go ahead and do that. Starting to rock backwards, notice that your quadricep muscles engage to catch you. If you were to start to fall backwards, those quadriceps kick into action. Hopefully you're feeling that. Okay, so that is going to be our key here. The tailbone is going to move forward with the help of the glutes. We're going to be pushing that tailbone straight in a line in front of you, quadriceps engaging to help catch you as you lean back. That is what we're going to work on, is lower body strengthening. With this block, we're going to take the block to behind your right foot, and just to the inside of your right foot. Just to the end, yeah, and try to have it on the highest setting. Yeah, I think it is. Inside of the right foot, we got that block, toes are tucked underneath. So really want to focus on taking the tailbone forward. So let's just start with that. Take the hands to the hips, take your tailbone forward and engage those quadricep muscles. At the same time, let's lift up the center of the chest. So looking up toward the ceiling, lifting here. So coming into an extended back bend, but trying to create that space along the back side of the body. Tailbone forward. Lifting straight up here, maybe looking back, opening the neck. And then drawing the abdominals in. We're going to come on back up to center. So hopefully you felt that, felt those protective measures. We're going to do all of that. We're going to take the right hand, let's take it up and around. Find your block here. Now you're going to have to turn a little bit to get your hands back on that block. But then we're going to take your left hand onto your hip and square the hips toward the front again. Squaring the hip, drawing that shoulder back, opening the chest. Take your tailbone forward. Tailbone forward, chest lifting, right shoulder dropping down. And then if you remember what we did at the beginning of class here, you can straighten that right arm, taking it all the way over your head and starting to drop it back behind. Half camel pose. Tailbone forward, get some space in those vertebrae, so really lengthening the spine. Draw that left shoulder down toward the floor, turning the chest more and more toward the ceiling. Press here, this is doing great. And then abdominal supporting to release. We're going to come on back up onto your knees here, that's center, and let's twist. We're going to twist around the spine. Oh, if your knees are hurting, Nancy, I am so sorry. It looks like it's the knees. Okay, all right, so you can take a break from that. And Nancy, actually, you can come up to standing. That might be easier for you. You can do everything that we're doing here by standing. Yeah, so if your knees are hurting here, please come up to standing to do this. Otherwise, we got one more side, and then we'll take it down a notch. I promise. Won't work too hard after this. So I'm going to take the block to the inside of your left foot. And remember that full setup. So abdominals need to engage to protect the back. The tailbone lengthens. So from here, I'm going to take that tailbone forward. It's like you're drawing a line across the floor. At the same time, lift the center of the chest toward the ceiling. And I'm going to drop now your left hand down to your block. So to find your block, you may have to turn a bit, but then open again back towards center as much as you can. And then you can take your left hand up and over your head, sorry, your right arm, your other arm, up and over your head, shoulder drawing away from the ears, lift the center of the chest, come back as much as you like here. Tailbone forward, abdominals engaging, and the quadriceps are engaging, protecting the back. And maybe you let the head drop back. Maybe then the head, your neck just wants you to look forward. And you've had a couple of breaths here and you're done. Abdominals in. Come on, back up to center. And now for those who are on their knees, we're going to take a child's pose. You can come off of your blanket. Hips to heels, nice and slow, bring your head down. If you're standing, let's come into Uttanasana, standing forward bend. So if you're in full child's pose, the head comes down. You might slip the hands back by your feet and allow the back to round. All right, those of us on the floor in child's pose, we're going to slowly work our way up to standing. And if you're in Uttanasana, you can roll your way up one vertebrae at a time and up to Tadasana, mountain pose. And you can clear up your mat if you've got some extra stuff sitting around. All right, so from Tadasana, let's just come right into tree pose. We're going to work on balancing. So finding that right leg, tree pose. Going to lift that left foot, take the knee out to the side, any version, just finding where's your challenge point today. So maybe it's bringing that foot up onto your standing leg. Maybe it's still keeping the toe down. Where's your challenge in your tree pose? And then we'll come on out with control on that side. Finding that left side, finding the left leg, left foot, rerouting our tree. Let's go ahead and take that right foot, that right knee out whenever you're ready. Your version of tree pose on this side. Breath is flowing. Gaze is soft. Challenging the body and the mind right to the edge of where you are today so you can stay focused, but also releasing any extra tension in the body, just sending that energy to where it's needed. And then coming on out with control. Okay, I'm going to take the feet starting with hip distance apart, outside edges parallel. So I'm going to take your hands and take them shoulder width apart, palms toward each other, elbows straight. Nice deep breath. On your exhale, chair pose. Bend the knees, take the arms up and overhead. Breathing here. And then pushing the feet, straighten the legs, bring the hands back down and take your feet a little wider. So maybe like mat width apart. And the toes might start to come a little outward, that's okay. When you're ready, this version of chair pose, bend the knees, take the hands up and overhead. Try to get your weight into the heels of the feet here. So more in the heels than the toes, but still mostly balanced. Straight. Good. Push into the feet. Come up. Release the hands. One more here. Take your feet wide. If you need to be turning on your mat, you can. Feet wide, and this time turn the toes a little bit out. Heels in, toes out. When you're ready, the last wide version chair pose. Bend those knees out over your ankles if you can, and take those hands up over your head. Elbows straight. Tailbone between the feet down toward the floor. Abdominals in. Couple breaths here, nice and strong. Nice. Push in the feet, straighten the legs, release the hands. You can bring your feet back together. All right, we're going to come all the way down onto the back now. All the way back down on the floor. You guys are working hard today. Knees bent, feet on the floor. Just breathing into the belly. I'm going to pick up the feet, draw the soles of the feet together and the knees wide. See if you can reach down and grab your ankles, shins, or feet. Starting to draw them in for this version of reclined Baddha Konasana. Here, we're going to work our way into thread the needle pose. So you can kick your right foot up toward the ceiling and try to take your left foot onto your right thigh, somewhere on that thigh. And then if you can reach over your left foot to your right leg, you can grab a hold of that. If that doesn't work, then go through the triangle and grab a hold of the back of your right thigh, trying to pull that side in. So if you can reach above your foot, you might start to walk your hands up the leg toward your right foot. And as you do that, if the hips are coming off of the floor, try to keep them down, try to keep the back of the body long. And we'll switch sides. You can extend out your left leg and the right foot now onto the left thigh somewhere. And then the options are either through the little triangle and wrap your hands around your thigh, or above the foot, grabbing a hold of your left leg somewhere and maybe starting to walk toward that left foot. And then we'll release and bring both feet down to the mat. And then let's bring the soles of the feet together on the floor here. Drop the knees out for this version of Baddha Konasana. So knees out wide, soles of the feet together, and you can scoot those feet in toward the hips as much as they will go. If you're in a back bend in your lower back, then take your tailbone towards your feet. So starting to drop the lower back toward the floor. And then let's do the same thing with the arms. Going to bring your hands together, elbows wide, and take your hands all the way over your head onto the floor. So you're making a diamond shape with the arms around the head. Let's breathe in here. And then we'll release the arms back down to the side. You can draw your knees toward each other. And then we'll extend the right leg long on the floor. And we'll put the left foot onto the right thigh. Grab a hold of that left knee with your right hand. And let's roll all the way over to the right side, dropping the knee toward the floor. And then if you can, try to bend your right knee and see if you can reach with your left hand to grab a hold of your right foot. And then if you do that, or even if you don't do that, drop your left shoulder down toward the floor to open the chest toward the ceiling. And then to come out is opposite the way you got in. So release your right foot if you have it. And roll on back to center. Make sure your spine is center. So as you transition, you can bring the feet to the floor, make sure that that is centered out. And then we'll extend your left leg long, right foot onto left side, left hand onto right knee and crossing all the way over to the left side. And then bend that left knee and try to bring your foot close to your hip. See if you can reach down with your right hand and grab that foot. So now you've got left hand on right knee and right hand on left foot. And then the shoulders drop down toward the floor and opening the upper body and chest. Then release the foot and roll on back center. And then as you're ready, you can make your way to Shavasana, horse pose. Bring your awareness back to the breath in the body. Starting to sense through the body and notice if anything has changed. And then allow some movement to return to the body. Try to keep that quiet mental state. As you're ready, work your way up to a seated position. Hands together at the heart. Thank you. Namaste.